If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. Men of Reddit, when was the last time you've cried and why? My marriage was on the verge of collapse when my ex-wife got a job offer in another state. She had been unemployed for some time, so she had to take the job. We decided I should stay behind since I had a steady job and divorce was inevitable. My wife moved out and the kids stayed with me until she got a home in her new city. Taking my kids to the airport and putting them on a plane to move away from me was soul-crushing. I held it together until they boarded. Once they got on the plane, I lost my shit. My kids only lasted a few months with mom before packing up and moving back to live with me. Sunday. Wife has sudden onset of insomnia and anxiety since Christmas, which has started to trigger panic attacks. She had one while I was at work and called me. When I was free to call back, my son answered the phone. I was sobbing listening to my 6-year-old talk her through the breathing exercises we had practiced. That kid gets ice cream for life, no questions asked. And I might go cry again. Edit. Wow, this got a fair few more comments than I expected. Thanks for the well wishes and health advice. Bit of an update. Wife had been taking prescription sleep aids on our doctor's recommendation, which knocked her out for an hour or two at most. This was pre-panic attacks, so they changed to anti-anxiety, anti-depression meds for 5 days. She had another 2 panic attacks early in the week, but I had arranged some emergency leave and was there for the worst bits. On day 4 and 5 she managed to relax enough to sleep for a good 5 to 6 hours each time. Followed up with the doctor for blood samples and medical reviews, and she's dropped down to half the dosage for another week. Has slept fairly well since, and her job have been very understanding, so all being well she's back to work for a half day tomorrow. Our son is back at school, no worse for wear, and has been spoiled rotten by all concerned. Fingers crossed it's just a flash in the pan of stress and all health, but we have a few numbers for counseling and further tests should they be needed down the line. I surprised my long-distance girlfriend for her birthday after not seeing her for 3 months. Her reaction was bland, which shook me a bit, but I was like, maybe she's tired from college and work. I've gotten us a nice Airbnb for 2 nights so we can have some privacy, but nothing felt right. Last night we were just listening to some music. She was sitting on the bed pressed against the wall, eyes closed. I was laying on my stomach, and then Georgia by Vance Joy started playing. I teared up and covered my face with my arm. That moment I realized our relationship peaked sometime before, it was only downhill ahead. I cried without any sound, and she felt the bed shaking from me sobbing. Asked me what's wrong, and then I opened up about how I feel that I'm 100% into this relationship but not getting the same back. She started crying as well, confirmed everything I said, and promised she'll try to improve and bring back the spark we once had. We broke up 3 months later. Oh man, do I miss that girl. When my GF broke up with me through a phone call after 6 years. Just couldn't hold it together. Edit. Thanks for all the kind words and such. It's been a few weeks and I feel a bit better by now. We also met up and talked about it a bit. The sadness and frustration's still there, but she found the guts to talk to me about it personally, and I appreciate that. Says she wanna stay friends and all that stuff, but whatever, no idea how that's supposed to work out. Definitely can't just pretend nothing happened, lol. I'm in the process of moving out and had quite the shitty day, so thanks again. Really appreciate. Hope shit gets better for all of you commenting that you experienced the same. This last weekend. After a night of drinks, a very good friend of mine and I were ending the night at her apartment. We had been chatting for a bit when at one point, she redirected the conversation and began to beam about how she's proud of the man I've become. She talked about my character, how I treat people, and my habits. She told me there are things I do that she admires. Things that I've been doing for years, and that I thought no one noticed. It was a very tender moment and I couldn't help tearing up. I've never had a friend or loved one, other than a relative, say such beautiful things about me. Bless her soul, I don't know what I would do without her. To say that she's an amazing person wouldn't be enough. My friend and gym partner killed himself on November 5th and I didn't know for a whole week. I was texting him daily things like, "Hey man, where are you at? Are we lifting today? Did I do something wrong? Why aren't you replying? Hey man, if you don't respond to this message I'm calling the police for a welfare check." And then a friend found the GoFundMe on Facebook. I cried so hard and loud that I heard my roommate approach my door to knock. He heard me through the door, and did a quick about face to retreat back to his room. Today someone approached me in the gym saying, "Hey man, do you know what happened to Ryan? He was in my class and just stopped showing up one day last semester," and I went full deer in the headlights before straightforwardly answering, "He killed himself," then returning to my workout to avoid the emotions and awkwardness. I started drinking at 8 a.m. today, so I got that going for me. A couple days ago. My wife and I have been trying to get pregnant for 3 years now with no luck. We've been to the fertility doctor several times, had several tests ran on both of us, done IUI, the whole 9 yards. Nothing. Doctor says there's no physical reason why we shouldn't be able to conceive. Been a long, emotional journey for both of us. A friend comes home from church work in Africa, just got married in September to a native guy in their church. Came home to see family and announced her pregnancy. We're happy for them, but it still hurts like hell. Just couldn't hold it in anymore. Just over a year and a half ago when I was writing up a little letter for my just recent ex-GF. We both decided to go our own ways, but I was scared she would react, so I wrote a letter to let her know that it was just an honest handful of issues I couldn't get past and that I would always cherish what we had. Part of the reason I was crying was knowing full well that I care too much sometimes and am constantly taken advantage of. But there I was, selling my soul up the river to try and give her closure so she wouldn't do anything reckless. Yesterday was when I cried. I don't typically get upset over celebrity deaths. Mac Miller's passing upset me, but Kobe. I feel like I lost a longtime friend. I'm not even a Lakers fan, but I love basketball. I grew up watching Kobe. Any kid that's ever been alone in a gym imagining they had the ball down a point with seconds on the clock knows who Kobe is. He was the Black Mamba. He seemed invincible. He should be here, transitioning into his role as the elder statesman of the NBA, offering sage advice to all the rooks who grew up watching him dominate for 2 decades, idolizing him. His wonderful daughter Gigi should be able to grow up and play for UConn and the WNBA. Instead I lost a childhood hero, basketball lost a legend, and the world lost someone who truly seemed to care and want to give back. Last week, when I was randomly scrolling Reddit and saw that video of the guy giving crap CPR to the dog. Some commenter below it mentioned the statistics of surviving CPR and it brought back some heavy memories for me. I was a tour guide for an adventure travel company and had a client collapse on tour, and I gave CPR until the paramedics arrived. He didn't make it, and I had to console his daughter who was also on the tour. I think I self-medicated with daily weed usage for years afterwards, and I've recently quit smoking. Somehow that innocuous comment set off a pathway in my brain that brought the emotional weight of the event come flooding back. I remembered the blank stare and the guttural sounds and the wail of his daughter when the paramedics tried and failed to revive him. I burst into tears in my office cubicle and went to the bathroom to have a silent cry. It didn't occur to me that I had never properly processed this event until I was off weed. I gave up 8 years of my life to raise my stepson while his mom was a dysfunctional alcoholic and drug addict. Like, drink and drug till she passed out on the floor sometimes, or kick holes in walls kinda shit. I still smoke weed and drink occasionally, not daily, and I take care of myself, exercise, eat right. Unfortunately, unless I went to AA she wouldn't be with me. I'm not an addict, but she began to believe that any of use of drugs was addictive behavior. I refused to go to AA, but said I would stop smoking and drinking if that is what she wanted. Didn't sell. She won't let me see the kid now. I miss my son. I miss him every day. I drove home last Saturday, and heard a song come on Spotify we used to sing to. Would always make him smile when it came on. I miss his smile. I miss him right now. He is my world, and she won't let me even talk to him. Don't know what to do without him. Just now. Dad literally passed this morning, about 4 hours from the time of this post. Of course, when I get back home from meeting with my sister and mom at the nursing home to browse Reddit for my first chance at any distraction, this is on the front page. He had early onset Alzheimer's. He was only 67. We finally had to put him in a nursing home 3 years ago cause my mom and I couldn't manage to care for him at home anymore. He's had basically been in a near vegetative state of limited alertness and nonverbal for the last 2.5-ish years, so he passing wasn't unexpected and we had a lot of time to mentally prepare since his diagnosis nearly a decade ago, but man, when it finally happens it fucking still blows. Classmate died yesterday. She was a horn player in my orchestra. Girlfriend broke up with me out of the blue hours after. She said she wanted to talk and I said hopefully nothing serious, and then I got completely destroyed. I ugly cried in front of all of my friends, and they brought me tea and blankets and snacks. Lucky to have them. Yesterday I was happy, with many happy days just on the horizon. Today, I'm lost. I am in denial, but I will have to learn to accept it and move on. I'm scared of moving on. This was nowhere on my list of possibilities that could happen to me. No warning signs, we never fought. And then it was just over, because her feelings changed. If you've been through something similar, please comment, I'd like to read it. On my drive home from work yesterday, thinking about everyone who I thought cared but tossed me aside like mere trash. I've always been a little slow when it comes to learning things and retaining information. Never quite good at making friends, so I held on to the few I thought were good friends. Up until recently, it was horrible in school studying my butt off in order to at least get C's on tests. Since graduating high school I've always worked hard for my money, landscaping for a few years and now I'm an electrician's apprentice. My attendance every day is impeccable. I do the best I can every day even though coworkers can be cruel saying I should be able to do certain things by now, and I try and text my few friends at least once a week to check on them and ask them about their weeks, and usually I only get left on read. All in all, I know it's not the greatest reason to be upset, but it sure does get lonely outside of work and frustrating at work. I'm sure many of you can sympathize. About 2 years ago, my wife and I made the decision that we had to put our Boston Terrier, Thundercles, to sleep. We got him right after we got married and he'd been our mascot our entire marriage. He was the smartest and funniest dog ever, but he had a hernia of some kind that put a kink in his colon years ago. We got him surgery, homemade his food, etc. But over time, he just couldn't poo anymore. He would go outside and squat and nothing would come out, but his backside was so distended. The day we took him to the vet, we gave him the best day ever. Took him for a car ride, one of his favorite things, got him drive-through French fries, let him stick his head out the window. When we got to the vet, we were halfway feeling like maybe we were making a selfish call, maybe he was okay. Then he got out of the car and tried to go to the bathroom and couldn't, and he had this pained look on his face. When the doctor injected him and he just was gone. In that blink of an eye, I knew he was gonna pass, but didn't expect it that quickly. He was our constant companion and it was all over. I wept at random times for days. I was at work and must have looked down, cause a coworker asked if I was alright and I broke down sobbing in the middle of my store, head on her shoulder. It was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. It took weeks of coming home, opening the door and expecting to hear his collar tags jingling, only to instead get silence, before I could come home and not get teary-eyed. I'm crying now as I type this. Do me a favor and give your dog some petting for me and Mr. Thundercles. Give them some cuddling. Let them nap on the couch next to you. I'm sad, but only because my wife and I got to share our beginnings together with that amazing boy. Lately, my wife has been very angry and snapped at me more than I deserve. I'm tough-skinned and can typically take the flack I get, even when I don't deserve it. Recently, she snapped at me for apologizing for missing the turn she suggested in the car. Typically she gets mad if I don't take her directions. Instead she bit my head off for apologizing ahead of time to ease the anger. I started crying, wondering what else I could do to be a better husband and make her happier. Yesterday, my wife told me she was very sorry for the way she has been treating me and has noticed her change in behavior. A few weeks ago I got a phone call from my mom. She told me that one of my older sisters had a brain aneurysm and that she's in a medically induced coma in a hospital 2 states away, and the doctors didn't think she was gonna make it. At first I didn't know how to feel about it. I haven't seen her in years. She started popping pills, told all of us to fuck off and disappeared. A week after my mom told me, her and my 2 other older sisters went to go see my sister in the hospital. While they were there the doctors tried to wake her up, but any time they did, she'd either have a seizure or a stroke. At that point the doctors really didn't think she was gonna make it, and began talking about how long my mom wanted to keep her on life support. It wasn't until they sent me a picture of my sister that it all hit me. I was at work, and I stopped what I was doing, walked into a closet, rested against the wall and cried. This past week one of her caretakers told my mom that they had taken her off the drugs that kept her in a coma and that it was up to her to wake up. Yesterday the same caretaker sent my mom a photo of my sister with both eyes open looking at the camera. When I saw the picture I cried again.